Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and what a delight to have back with us one of my favorite people, Laurie Cardoza-Moore. She's the president and the founder of Proclaiming Justice to the Nation, and she's alive. I don't know what she puts on her cereal in the morning, but I want some of it.
It's all my vitamins.
Hi.
Not the cereal.
Hi, Laurie. Good to see you. How you doing? Happy New Year.
Good morning. Happy New Year to you guys, too. It's great to be back, Perry. We've missed you.
Oh, well, we're both busy, but looking forward to seeing you at the NRB. Well, give us a ministry update. What's happening?
Well, we've launched our campaign to expose the whole BDS movement on our college campuses across the country. We are now up to 46 states. As you know, Perry, Indiana, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, New York all passed the resolution condemning BDS on our university campuses. Florida has introduced it along with a bill to condemn the economic and trade BDS. And Florida's legislature should be voting any day now to vote to approve that resolution. And then we also know that Alabama is going to be shortly behind. So we're really excited about this movement. Again, 46 states, 11 countries have expressed interest. So we're going to give these anti-Semites on the college campuses a run for their money.
For those who don't know what BDS is, explain it.
Well, BDS is the Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions movement. Some of your audience may be familiar with what Obama just recently did, where he approved labeling products that are being manufactured in Judea and Samaria, as we all know, the biblical heartland, as it states in our Bible, approving the labeling of those products. The goal with BDS really, Perry, is to strangle Israel economically. Now, coming closer to home, BDS is also extremely active on our campuses, and many of the members of your audience may be familiar with what's happening on university campuses, especially out there in California. There's been a lot of activity of anti-Semitic, Israel apartheid demonstrations, violent attacks against Jewish students, as well as Christian Zionist students as well. So our resolution that we are working through the state legislatures across the country is to to educate our state legislators about BDS, because many of the state legislators are not familiar with BDS. We see what's happening in California, in states like New York and Florida as well, where these violent demonstrations are going on, but most state legislatures don't deal with BDS. So what we're trying to do is kind of get out ahead of the curve and start educating our state legislators and the grassroots, the citizens, the taxpayers who pay for those public schools, those universities, out of their pocketbook. And I think if parents and citizens knew that their tax dollars were allowing groups like the Students for Justice in Palestine, the Muslim Student Association, Muslim American Society, these groups to continue to wreak havoc against our only true friend and ally in the Middle East and host these violent demonstrations, I believe people, especially Christians, will be or should be outraged.
This is unbelievable. And when you present this to a legislature, I would assume at that point it really puts them on a spot, because whether or not they're biased towards this or not. So how's it going?
Well, it's going quite well. You know, Tennessee was the first state to pass that resolution, and Tennessee is a prime example of a legislature that is not familiar with the BDS movement. Now, we all have been paying attention to what's been going on with Iran and the sanctions, lifting the U.S., the administration lifting the sanctions on Iran. That's just one example. And of course, we're building on that because this is so sinister what they're trying to do. We had the EU, who also voted to label products that are coming out of Judea and Samaria to penalize these people. But what we found in the state legislature, the legislators are aware of what's happening with Iran divestment, but they're not so much aware of what's happening in Israel. And if Israel's economy is strangled, it's going to affect our economy in some way, shape, or form, because there are many state legislatures that do invest in companies that do business with Israel. For example, in Florida, the University of South Florida their student government just passed a resolution supporting BDS, supporting economic and trade sanctions against Israel. Well, we, of course, have been working with the state legislature in introducing the resolution in the state to educate them and to educate the citizens. But what we have found is these supporters of BDS, although it's going on college campuses, most citizens are completely oblivious to what's going on, like in the state of Florida. So, we had this incident happen at USF, and we went in and we are working on drawing greater attention to this problem, and then using this as an opportunity to educate other state legislatures, citizens across the country and other states who are one day going to have to deal with this issue, because this will be coming to a campus in one of our states very soon. But as we continue, again, Perry, as we continue to educate people, they get it. They say, wait a minute, 70% of Americans support Israel, the polls show. And Americans understand that the threat Israel lives under on a daily basis by the constant barrage of terrorist attacks that are going on, much like what's happening right now. But unfortunately, there seems to be a media blackout. There's no reporting going on about the stabbings. A couple of weeks ago, a mother was stabbed in the head by a terrorist as she was just standing in the doorway of her home. Her 3 children witnessed it. But we don't hear about this going on in the United States. And I do believe that once Americans find out that this is happening, that people are going to be outraged, especially Christians.
Laurie, were you able to unpack the Florida vote there at the university? What's behind it? I mean, it has to be anti-Semitic, but is there anything, what are they using for an excuse to do this?
Well, actually, we did some research on this, and this resolution has been in the works for a couple of years. The group Students for Justice in Palestine has been actively lobbying the student government there. So the student government, they had a majority vote, 32 to, I don't remember how many voted against, but there was a majority vote that approved boycotting and sanctions against Israel. The administration of the school, the university, came out condemning it. And the president and one other member of that student government vetoed the resolution. So it did not get passed. And of course, we were planning a rally at University of South Florida to expose SJP. SJP is considered a legitimate organization on university campuses across the country. The Students for Justice in Palestine are tied to Muslim Brotherhood terrorist groups. They should not, Perry, I do not understand how groups that have ties to terrorist groups are able to function. And remember, your audience may remember that USF, or University of South Florida, was the same university that Sami al-Arian, another pro-Palestinian terrorist who was raising money to support a Palestinian terrorist group, raising money on the university, using the university and its prestige to raise the money. He was removed, he was put in prison, and of course, he's been extradited from the country since then. So this campus has a history of issues and problems. And so USF is going to be a great place for us to launch our campaign and continue to beat the drum about BDS and use it to educate state legislators again in other states, as well as citizens across this country. It's time for us to organize and mobilize and not tolerate terrorism being condoned in our communities or on our university campuses.
Yeah, God bless you for staying on top of this. Let me take a quick break, Laurie. We'll come back. By the way, let me say to our viewers and listeners, go to PJTN.org. That is Laurie's organization proclaiming justice to the nation, PJTN.org. An incredible resource, and support them. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at theDove.us.
All right, we're back, and what a delight to have back with us today. It's been too long, but we welcome her back, Laurie Cardoza-Moore. She's the president and the founder of Proclaiming Justice to the Nation. And I got to tell you, this is a terrific website and organization. Let me encourage you to go to her website. That's PJTN.org, and take a look at what they're doing. Take advantage of the resources there and support what she's doing. Laurie, by the way, you've done some great videos. You got anything else in the making?
Oh, yeah. Well, at the NRB, which I know you're going to be participating in this year, we're so excited to host you. We have got our next anti-BDS documentary called Hating Israel, The Search for Exposing the BDS Movement. So we're going to preview the documentary. It will not be completed, so we will be having a premiere at some point, hopefully in Israel first to do a global release and then nationwide release in the United States to follow sometime this spring, later this spring.
You guys do an incredible job with your videos. Congratulations. Look forward to it. This president, President Obama, has been so pro-Islamic in his policies. I can't help but think that this is fostering some of the stuff that's happening on these liberal colleges.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, it gives credence when you have the leader of the free world, supposedly, who is promoting BDS by encouraging the labeling of products coming out of Judea and Samaria. Yes, this has given them more fuel to their fire, and they feel like, you know, they've got the support of the leadership of the United States government behind what they're doing. This is unprecedented, what's happening. In fact, I was sent some information that we are in the process of researching right now that quite possibly shows that our government, the policies by the Obama administration, is actually violating current law with regards to boycotting Israel. So this is another opportunity, Perry, for us as Americans, and especially Christians, to rise up and say, we will not tolerate this. We need to contact our congressmen. We need to contact our senators. We need to find out what this what they're doing to hold this administration accountable. So there will be more information. Again, I want to encourage your audience to go to our website at pjtn.org and sign up to get our newsletters, media, and action alerts, because, Perry, as we get this information, we share this, we send this out, we put out press releases, we inform the citizens across this country, again, Christians, and give them an opportunity to mobilize and organize in their communities and hold their leadership accountable as well. So yeah, it's unbelievable what this administration has been doing and the policies that they've adopted.
Corey, over the weekend, Laurie, Joel Rosenberg, one of the most prolific writers out there, came out and said, which was very unusual for him, he came out and said that a Trump or Hillary Clinton administration would be disastrous as it relates to the United States and Israel. It would be a continuation, if not worse, than what we currently have with the current administration. Do you feel the same?
Well, you know, as president of PJTN, a nonprofit, I can't endorse a candidate, but what I will tell you about Ted Cruz, and I've been following all the candidates, even Donald Trump, but Ted Cruz's policies, Ted is willing, if he becomes president, to give Israel everything it needs militarily, financially, to support herself in that neighborhood. He has agreed to declare Jerusalem the capital of Israel. He has stated that he will move the embassy, the U.S. embassy, from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. This is a man who believes that Israel should not be singled out and marginalized, that the United States of America, the Judeo-Christian nation, should be standing with Israel. So, you know, you look at the policies of what Cruz has supported in the past with regards to Israel. You look at his policies that he will implement, and you know, I mean, it is what it is. You know, your audience can decipher what they think. But, you know, Rafael Cruz, his father, is actually going to be our keynote speaker this year at the NRB. And I don't know, Perry, if you've ever had an opportunity to hear Pastor Cruz speak. He is unbelievable. You understand where Cruz gets his passion and his love for the Constitution and for our Judeo-Christian values. The fruit does not fall too far from the tree.
I just had Pastor Cruz on for 3 segments earlier this week, and very passionate man. So that's great to know that he's going to be your keynote speaker. Along those lines, Laurie, then what you're saying is this: this election is the most critical election the United States has ever faced as it concerns our relationship with Israel. And I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, that alone ought to cause a lot of Christians to take a second look at these candidates.
Well, you know, it's interesting, Perry, because during the last couple of elections, the Christian community has not shown up to vote. You know, God gave us this Constitution. The Constitution of the United States was established on the Judeo-Christian principles, on the Bible, on the Torah, the first 5 books, the Septuagint of the Bible. And if we as Christians do not rise up, Yeshua told us to occupy until he returns. And we have a responsibility to ensure that our government upholds the Judeo-Christian values that we were founded upon. And it's not going to happen, Perry, if Christians sit home and say, well, I don't like the candidates. We need to pray. We need to be careful of paying attention to the shiny object and focus on what God is doing, who God has chosen or God is raising up at this hour. You know, our Constitution has been absolutely shredded because of this administration. And we need somebody who understands the Constitution, understands the foundation of this country, understands God, Almighty God's plan and purpose for our nation and the nation of Israel. And that is who people, Christians, should be voting for, should be looking for in their candidate that they support.
So what's ahead for proclaiming justice to the nations this year? I know you got a documentary in the making. You're working hard to deal with BDS. Anything else on your plate?
Yeah, the textbooks. Okay, so Perry, you know I've always got 8 plates spinning at once. Of course, the most important thing also is our future, our children, and our textbooks. And Perry, you know we've been at the forefront of exposing the anti-Semitic, anti-Judeo-Christian, pro-Islamic content in our children's textbooks, and this is taking off around the country. We are working with parents in New York, in Missouri, in Florida, others in Texas, Michigan, who are equally concerned about how their children are being indoctrinated. And I was having a conversation with a pastor this morning, and I think it's important to share with your audience about the whole issue of teaching Islam as a religion. You know, when we went to school, when we were in high school, we were not taught religion. We were not taught the tenets or the doctrines of different faiths. We were taught that, you know, that, for example, Indonesia, you know, their religion was Catholicism and Islam, but we weren't teaching how to pray the rosary beads, and we weren't taught how to, you know, pray the Shahada prayer. When we teach our children to recite the Shahada prayer, what Christians don't realize is the Shahada prayer is the Muslim prayer for conversion. Muslims see that prayer as a convert. These children that are praying these prayers, reciting these prayers, become converts to Islam. If these kids don't continue in that practice, then they become apostates in the Islamic faith. And we know what happens to apostates. Like Christians in the Middle East, they have their heads cut off. Parents don't realize that it is critically important that we monitor what our children are being exposed to and make sure, because another thing parents don't realize, Perry, is that you can opt your child out of a class. Another parent called me last week about her daughter having to go to a mosque. The mother said, I don't have a problem with her going to the mosque. I want to come, and this is in New York. She asked the school if she could come and sit in on the class and go to the mosque too. You know what the mother was told? No, because she's a Christian, she might cause problems. So parents have to be, I know we're all busy, Perry, but we've got to, even if just a parent would ask their son or daughter to bring home their history textbook, just turn to the section of the textbook that deals with the different religions. See the disparity. See how Islam is promoted over Christianity and Judaism, and how Judaism and Christianity are marginalized or minimized in the text of the textbook. How Islam is portrayed as this loving, peaceful religion, but in reality, is that what we're seeing played out in the Middle East today?
Powerful stuff. Laurie, you're an inspiration. Let me just say to our viewers and listeners, you need to go to PJTN.org. That's Laurie's website. Take a look at what they're doing. Download, become a subscriber to the newsletter, support them. And can't wait till your documentary's out. We'll see you at the NRB. So thank you, Laurie, for what you're doing. The best to you and your team.
God bless you, Perry. Thank you for letting us be part of the program today. We're looking forward to greeting you in Nashville.
All right, we'll see you there. All right, we'll be right back.
Yeah.